Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 o'clock. I'm Ted Santos, and it's time for just a little bit of YouTube and chill. I come to you on Friday nights where we get to kind of sit back and chill and we talk about the intimacy of relationships. Let's put a little sound behind that. Take care of that, Ellen, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ted Santos, and it's Friday, and it's time to do some YouTube and chill. Sit back, listen, watch, learn, develop, talk, chat, engage. It's time to do that. It's time to talk about intimacy and relationships from a man's perspective. That's exactly what we do here at YouTube and Chill on Friday nights. So, as you come in, smash that like button. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, this is a great time to do that. Subscribe and hit the bell so that you receive notifications. And share this one. I think this is one of those topics a lot of people take for granted. It is so, you know how they say, even if it's a lie, if you keep repeating a lie, it never becomes the truth, even though most people believe the lie is true. And we've seen that throughout history. There have been lies that people have bought into, And they promoted the lie without knowing the lie they were promoting was a lie. They actually believed it was true. So I'm inviting you to engage me in a conversation about something that has been inaccurately promoted. Men have not always followed this mindset, except clearly they are today, most men. So I'm going to offer perspective and help people understand even the science that's behind it, what's really happening. And I'm inviting men to take charge of their lives. So share this video so that men can really start to get a better handle on themselves and how they engage in relationships. I know that most of the guys that I'm speaking to are men who would like to be in a relationship. Perhaps you want to have children and leave a legacy. The best way to raise children is in a two-parent household. They get the benefit of both a mother and a father. But a lot of guys are seeing that it's not worth it. We look at marriage rates they're at all-time lows in the US. They first started recording the stats in 1865, and they've never been this low. Interesting how women still want to marry. Actually, the numbers are increasing. More women want to marry. And if you watch, there are women, even though women are saying, oh, women can live alone, we don't need a man, yet they're marrying themselves, they're marrying their pets. So that's a sign that they wanted to marry, but no guy made the offer, a proposal, so to speak. So perhaps women need to better understand why men are not marrying, and men need to better understand how to navigate relationships as a man. We've been asked to get into our feminine side, and that is, it seems this is where the problem begins. So let's get into this. Let's talk about it. And thank you for joining me. So I had some thoughts about this, and I always have more than one topic. Tonight's topic is, why is love the worst thing for a man to seek in a relationship? Why would that be? And the second title would be, have men bought into the fantasies of love and fairy tales? So some of my thoughts went as such. In the past, fairy tales were bedtime stories that were read to little girls. Those stories made girls and women fantasize about the prince who sweeps them off their feet. Boys, on the other hand, preferred stories about action, danger, and adventure. Yet in the 21st century, it seems men seek the same fantasies women desire. As men have been told to find their feminine side, it appears more and more men desire the feelings experienced by Snow White or Cinderella. Men now crave feelings of love and use it as a measuring stick to find a mate. At one time, men were known for being logical in their mating choices. Now it appears they are using feelings to determine if a woman is right for them. Do men want to be Cinderella now or Snow White? Since feelings are fleeting and depend on what is happening right now, they are not stable enough to sustain a great relationship. They will do nothing more than provide a temporary dopamine high. It almost seems like men are under a spell. Time to break the spell and return to the masculinity that logically makes decisions about everything. So that's what I'd like to talk about. Getting men back to the logic and the masculinity that we were biologically born to have. And do men have feelings? Of course. And most of those feelings that we have are are in a huge part from socialization, right? So, girls love the fairy tale. I wrote a book myself. It's definitely not a fairy tale. It's myself and five women in a luxury hotel in New York City. And we get into rather profound conversations about relationships. And I call the book Here's Why You Can't Find Love. And so, for those of you who have read it, if you haven't figured it out, there's a punchline. And the punchline is the reason people can't find love is they're looking for love. So if you're looking for love, you're just completely backwards in navigating through a relationship. Love is not the first thing you should be looking for, not even the second. So if you're using love as a measuring stick to find out if this person you desire is right for you, you're in trouble. As I said, love feelings, it's fleeting. It's love feelings are momentary. It depends on what's going on. And I write about the book how there are these biochemicals that motivate the feelings that we have. I literally talk about in the book how if I, and I'm speaking to these five women, and I said, hey, if I were in a relationship with one of you and I come home with with a dozen roses in one hand and I in the other hand I have a box and I open it up and it's a 2-carat flawless emerald diamond ring, how are you going to feel? It was interesting to see their responses, but ultimately they all the women agreed, well, if we're already in a great relationship, she's going to be happy to see the diamond ring, and she believes that you love her and you want to spend the rest of your life with her. And so then I asked, well, what's the difference between giving you those dozen roses and that diamond and giving you 12 dandelions and a rock that I found in a yard that I, fashioned with some metal into a ring, and it's still about a 2-carat size, and I offer you that? Would you be just as happy? And they were like, no. So that's an example of a woman feeling good about something that she was told to feel good about. Because if that same woman on the day a newborn, on the day she was born in the hospital, if I would have come to her with that same dozen roses and that same diamond ring, 2-carat flawless emerald diamond ring, and I presented it to her when she is just 2 hours old, even 2 days old, she wouldn't have been happy about it. But except by a certain age, she is taught that if a man brings you roses and a diamond, that those are signs and symbols of love. And that means he really loves you. The bigger the diamond, the bigger his love for you. So that's an example of how women are socially taught to have feelings about something there's no reason to have feelings about, because the newborn, the same woman when she was first born, would have cared nothing about it. So I'm saying that to say, guys, and if you take that woman, you present the roses and the diamond, and she and I are in a great relationship, what she gets is the secretion of dopamine. There are all kinds of biochemicals that secrete, and they indicate that this is great news. This guy loves me, wants to spend the rest of his life with me, and he's willing to spend the money. Like, he's got the money. Show me the money. And she feels good. Yet, for the dandelions and the rock I found in the yard, she would see it as having no value, and she may, in fact, feel bad or even upset with me, insulted for presenting that. Like, how is that possible? I'm still the same guy. So if I say I love you and I give you diamonds and roses, and I say I love you and I give you dandelions and a rock from a yard, somehow my love and affection is equated with some material gift that I offer. So in one case, it offers dopamine and you feel good and it's great. It's like a high. And in the other case, maybe it's cortisol, it's stressful, it's anger, it's an upset. How is that logical? And so if men could kind of step back and understand and look at it from that perspective, perhaps men can start to look at their own behavior and the choices that they're making. How are you arriving at love is the source of making a relationship work, and depending on how good you feel around a woman, that determines whether or not she's marriage material. That's what I'm getting at here. Is that is that really logical? So when I looked at, no, I'll do a screen share here. So I just looked up, how does love affect a man? The short answer says he'll experience a sense of euphoria. Men in love tend to feel extra happy. That's what it says, which is also due to what's going on in the brain. When a man falls in love, high levels of dopamine, a chemical associated with the brain's reward center, is released so he will feel a natural high and sense of euphoria. This is what people are calling love. That euphoric feeling. So, if in the case of a woman and her believing I love her and now she should love me in return, I presented diamonds and flowers, and it's a sense of euphoria because she's been taught these are great things, and she gets this dopamine high. She has euphoria, and she believes she loves me. So whatever the things that women do, whether it's the way she looks, right? The man loves her body, her face, her hair, the sound of her voice. She touches him. She shares her body sexually. She cooperates. These are all things that a man will say, I love her. And now he's got dopamine secretions and he's got a sense of euphoria. And he believes this is love. This is the danger of relying on feelings. So it's the danger of relying on feelings will set you up as a man or a woman for a person to just know how to do the right things, say the right things, present themselves physically. For some women, it means putting on a lot of makeup and fake hair, eyelashes, kind like all these things, breast, butt implants, all of these things, which will give you this sense of, I like that, right? And the neurochemicals secrete. And a lot of guys believe that is love. Love at first sight. Man, look at her. And Hollywood just plays on that, man. They have the sensationalized music. You see someone, and the bells and the music goes off, and you have sex, and it's you do all these things, acrobatic things that you think only a woman who loves me would do these things, and you just got hooked. You got hooked on a biochemical secretion that has nothing to do with love. It's just nature's way of saying procreate. perpetuate the species, make more little humans that grow up to be big humans who will also experience the same euphoria for the same reasons you did. So this is a big part of what I'm asking men to look at, that you get hooked on something and it has nothing to do with love. Even though it feels good, there's nothing wrong with feeling good when you're with a person. But feeling good can cloud your vision for what's most important. So when I wrote my book, what the book is really about is understanding the reason you can't find love is because it's not love that you want, it's compatibility. And if you find someone who's compatible, like you are intellectually compatible, you're equal. Like the Bible talks about being equally yoked, right? And I understand that that has a context within the Bible, but if you're equal in terms of intellectual capabilities, you'll be able to discuss things that you both understand. It's easy to comprehend and understand. If you're both equal when it comes to health and your mental health and your physical health, uh, the kinds of food you eat, whether you exercise or not exercise, if you are equal in whether you both want children, do you want children? Uh, how do you want to discipline your children? How do you want to educate them? What schools? Or do you want to homeschool them? Where do you want to live? Are you sexually compatible? When it comes to integrity, which may be the biggest one, do you both see integrity the same? You know, interesting. Few guys, four guys interviewed me for about my book on this past Monday, and they asked me my definition of entanglement, and I said, you have to ask Jada what entanglement meant. But that was also a great opportunity to talk about integrity. So, if we look at Will and Jada's relationship, whatever, they don't seem to be compatible when it comes to integrity. So Jada's idea of integrity is to be able to step out and, well, I didn't cheat. It was an entanglement, and she has all kinds of justifications. And I don't know if Will is suffering and just sort of keeping his mouth shut, like men, suffer in silence, don't say anything. What's going on, Scobay? Good to see you in the house. I'm talking about whether men really do understand love. This is a tricky topic, man. Tricky. Uh, Talking about the intimacy of relationships. So, and I'm laying out how what men think is love really isn't. It's just your body's biological mechanism to motivate you to go have sex with someone so you can create another human and perpetuate the species. Well, a good one, Imperator, right? But see, when it comes to integrity, see, if you do what you say you're going to do, or you say you're not going to do something, right? So people who honor their word, and when they don't honor their word, they'll take responsibility for it. So what Jada did, instead of being responsible, she said, "Oh, it was just some entanglement." She tried to like poo-poo it, like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." So when it comes to integrity, they're not compatible. So perhaps Will had great feelings for her and thought this was the woman of his dreams because he felt good around her. And that's what I'm really getting at. So just because you feel good with a person has nothing to do with being compatible, right? So are you compatible with integrity? Are you compatible with the way you manage money, the way you educate your mind, the way you take care of your health? You could be compatible in some areas and absolutely not compatible. So, let's say a man and woman who both have great bodies come together and they meet in the gym and they both work out. they may be compatible when it comes to physical health. Uh, Diet may be different. How they take care of their mental health, how they develop their mind may be compatible and it may not. However, if you're, let's say, compatible with physical bodies, but one of you is horrible at managing money and because you just go shopping all the time and you look at money as a bottomless pit and you care nothing about building, and the other person does care about building, that's going to be a constant problem. So, lots of women believe shopping is a sport, and she may want to be able to go out and just shop whenever she wants and tell you, well, just go out and make more money. You hear these stories where the woman just constantly shops and runs up the bills on a credit card and said, well, instead of complaining that I'm spending too much, why don't you just go out and make more money? Get a second job. You'll hear these stories. But yet that woman may look really good. So, see, this is one of the challenges and why so many women who are very, very attractive um, end up kind of running over a man because he's getting, as I said, people confuse love with this dopamine high, and so he's getting this great feeling because he's now with this woman that he finds ideally attractive, and so that feels good to be with a woman who's very attractive. She has a pretty face. She has nice hair. She's got a nice body. And you hear guys say, "Oh, I'm in love. Look at that woman. She's so beautiful. I'm in love." But all these other things get ignored. But what people do look at instead is, well, we have these things in common. So we both like entertainment. We like to travel. We grew up in the same state. We've traveled to some of the same countries. Like we have these things in common. We like some of the same musical groups, and we have the same favorite color. These are all things you can have in common. If you guys remember, I did a show about much older women dating younger men, like what a 58-year-old woman dating a 24-year-old guy. And what did they say? They said exactly, they have so much in common. They both love nightlife. They like entertainment. They both love to travel. But that has nothing to do with core values like how you manage money, how you educate yourself, how you educate your children, um, where you want to live, integrity, health. Like all of those things are much more important than what you have in common. See, because what you have in common will change over time. So at 21, you may love hanging out in nightlife, but at 31, you may be taking your career a lot more seriously as a man, and that nightlife may not have the same value. So the woman may say, well, you changed. We used to have this one thing in common, the nightlife, and he changed. But if it's integrity, if you have integrity at 21, most likely you'll still have integrity at 31 and 41 and 51 and 91. So as guys, that nice body, especially if she works out and she has a tight body. But a lot of women take a shortcut. They just go get injections or implants, whatever the hell they do. And it's fake. When it looks nice in clothes, maybe even naked. So what I'm suggesting to you guys, and I'm asking, um, why is love the worst thing to seek in a relationship? Because if you have love, which is based on feelings as your foundation, feelings are fleeting. They depend on certain things. So if your wife is, and you hear this, she's got a hot body when you met her at 25, and at 35, she's already overweight, and at 45, she's obese. There are a few things. You won't have the same feelings looking at that same woman. Oh, I'll drop. Hey, Sko, I'm gonna drop a link. There you go. Drop in anytime you want. So you're going to have different feelings. So you won't get the same dopamine high for your wife that you had at she was 25 with a sexy body. And I know guys who married women who were like these fitness models. They were really hot. And the guy still goes, in fact, he was a professional athlete and he still works out. And his wife is overweight and he's like, he just hates it. He hates it. There's no dopamine high. But if you're confusing that dopamine high for love, you're in trouble. But also, a lot of women will work out just to get the man. I remember I used to sell advertisement at this newspaper in the state of Maryland. And I remember one of the women who worked there said, God, I'm getting married in 30 days. And she said, I only have to keep my weight down so I can fit into this wedding dress on my wedding day. And after that, she said, oof, I can just let it go. I felt bad for that guy. He didn't understand what he was walking into. A woman who was guaranteeing that she was going to gain weight. She was going to get fat. She was already a little on the husky side. So that's if you don't know whether if you are fitness like this guy I know from the gym, he was a professional athlete. The guy is like over 45 and he is still fit. I mean, his cat is still banging out 3 plates on bench. He is fit. He still looks like he's like just that far from being a professional athlete. So he married a woman who didn't have the same kind of commitment to health, and they were not compatible, but he didn't find that out. And I know one of you guys asked if I would do a show on how to find someone that's compatible. You even asked me to do a show on how do you strip down women, and you wanted to speak to some of these women. I'd be happy to do those kinds of shows. Hey, Scope, jump in. So I'm going to say these last words. And I'm going to be light about this. The fairy tales that we know, like Cinderella and Snow White, in the Me Too movement, they would be very different. Both Cinderella and Snow White would sue you for sexual harassment. Snow White, you kissed her while she was asleep, and that's sexual harassment. And Cinderella, well, here you are touching her leg to put on a shoe. So both of you guys are going to get sued. Both of those women are going to sue you 30 years or 20 years or even tomorrow. And the other thing is Snow White might get upset with you also and say, well, I was sleeping and you kissed me and woke me up. She may be angry with you. And Cinderella will be upset with you because you didn't buy her those red bottoms. You actually found a shoe left in the palace, used, and came to her and put it on her foot. So she'd be like, you're too cheap to buy me a pair of shoes, a pair of red bottoms. You actually brought to me a used shoe that you found. That would be today's Cinderella and Snow White. You wouldn't be as happy as you think you are. What's going on, Scope, man? Good to see you in the house. What's up?
Uncle Ted, what's going on with you? How do I sound? How's my sound quality?
Oh man, your quality's good. You're good. If I sounded clear, you sound as clear as I did.
All right, you know I'm big on the sound quality of your show, so every time I call up, I'm
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we got you. Yeah, but go ahead, man.
All right, I want to camel back on your topic, and I'm gonna reflect on some moments in my life. Uh, when the idea of love changes for a man and woman at particular ages in their lives, also with their levels of maturity. And when you're in love with someone, especially in your teen years, due to cinema and television and things like that not being properly taught by our parents, we mistake the teeny bop love for love. A lot of us do, not all, but we kind of mistake that for love later on in our adult lives. And I think a lot of women and men, for the most part, they chase that euphoria. And there's like a level of incompetence in that and letdowns in that world. Like you're sadly let down. For men, a lot of men, and I see today, I think you're in my group, the Mackish Package on Facebook. A lot of the guys, when we have one-on-ones, it's not like you because I consider you like really, really intelligent, but
Thank you.
we swap ideas. It's like student talk when I'm talking to the fellas, and some of them are experiencing other things in life, and I got them on some things in life, and we pair it together and it works out. But anyway, from talking to them, it seems that like when we're younger, we just want an attractive woman for the most part. We're not worried about compatibility, and a lot of them take that on into their adult lives, and the women that they're looking for physically aren't the women. They're not the same, like the super sexual firecracker knockout woman, the siren. A lot of the time, she's not the compatible person for you, and they get caught up in that world and they get heartbroken and things like that. And when I see the picture of the girl, and they say you can't judge a book by its cover, but I beg to differ sometimes. When I see the picture of the girl, I'm like, bro, I could just look at her and I kind of can tell what she's about and what energy she's bringing. I could sometimes I can see the darkness in a person through a picture, and I'm like, this girl looks like a blatant headache. You were trying to cling to this for love. It doesn't seem like a nurturing woman, and from like the rap videos and things like that, they're attracted to this cookie cutter, standard of beauty today, like the knockout, and it's not like the guys are chasing. And this is not all men, but some that often run into problems. They're not chasing like the. And I'm not saying she's a good woman. I'm just saying her look, how she portrays herself, like the Sanaa Lathan look. They're going for the Instagram thought look, and there's an energy and there's a mindset that comes with that kind of girl.
Right, exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So you kind of get what you ordered, but you didn't look further into the ingredient of what you're looking at, and that incompetence in the dating scene that comes from when we're young and not maturing on the dating scene. And I remember I used to talk about it to my guys because my son, one of my sons, she's very attractive. She's a nice looking black woman, and when let's say she'll come pick up some child support for me or something like that, the fellas would be like, oh, why aren't you with her? And they're saying that based on her beauty. And I'm like, that's such an immature way to look at things. Like, I wouldn't even lay down with her to confuse. I like the way it is now and everything's smooth. But they're like, yeah, why you don't want to be with? She looks like such as. I said, I ain't got nothing to do with it. But on a mass level, when you're dealing with like a group of men, this is how they think. This is how they gauge things and who to be with and who to stick with. You get what I'm saying?
Well, that yes, and that's why in the beginning of this, I talked about, there's a definition. I look in Google. I just wanted to see what it says. How does love affect a man? He'll experience a sense of euphoria, and really, all it is it's his dopamine. So you talk about rap videos. So if a guy sees a woman who looks a certain way, it's like, oh man, I would love to touch her, like this, and then to actually have her in front of you and dress her and all the dopamine, endorphins, they start shooting off, and the man is like, I feel so good with her, and he calls that love. It's just an image, not even of love. It's an image of a kind of woman he would like to touch, to have by his side because he's going to then look good. And as you said, other men are going to say, like, how could you not be with her? She looks so good,
Hey,
right?
yo, Ted, I had I had this one girl, a couple, but I would feel just so good to be with. I would feel like I would lay up with her all day and feel accomplished. But I was younger and mature, but I would feel so accomplished. Like I got to. She's just so pretty, and just and just feel good. And you get what I'm saying? And
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like that has nothing to do with love. That's just, see, nature is brilliant. Like nature is so intelligent.
mhm,
That's how nature gets human beings to make other human beings and perpetuate the species.
mhm,
That's all that it's about.
yeah,
It's so that human beings can continue to exist. And the same happens for dogs and
the
lions
formula for mating.
and zebras and raccoons.
Uh-huh.
They're all getting this euphoric, they're getting this sense that makes them want to mate and make other little animals. That's it.
You got on this cartoon, the cartoon Rick and Morty. The guy Rick, he's like a scientific genius. I know you don't watch television, but he says this line when people talk about love. He says, "Blah, love is only the chemical reaction that happens in animals' brains so they can fuck." He's got like this joke. He says it all the time. He said, "Love is just the same chemical reaction that happens in animals' brains so they can fuck." He says it all the time.
That's it.
Yeah, that's one of his lines.
That's literally that. So here's my initial message: is love is the worst thing to use as a measuring stick to determine whether you love a woman. It's the worst thing, and Hollywood just feeds on it because it makes these movies and these love scenes and music and these fantastic feelings and passion, and people are like, I want that, and you
Yeah.
love that. You just got tricked out of everything.
I mean, no one wants to see like a love movie that like a love movie and Bill and Melinda Gates and the guy actually looks like Bill Gates and the woman actually looks like Melinda Gates. Like I don't really want to watch that. So Hollywood has a way of playing on your on those same endorphins that you're talking about.
That's it. And
They
people,
have a way of playing on those, you know?
right?
It's like going to see an action movie and the guy's not really in shape, like he's some like Homer Simpson shaped guy. It's like what the fuck, you know? It's not exciting like that.
It's a comedy. So what was that? I don't know this guy's name. He played in. Remember when Will Smith, the movie, he was a dating coach.
You're talking about Hitched.
Right, right. And so remember the white guy who hired him, and he couldn't dance, and he was kind of goofy.
Yeah. I'm, I'm I don't really remember Hitched because it was kind of watching me. I had to sit through it to I had to sit through it to accomplish what I set out with a girl. So I don't really remember it too much. But continue.
Hold on. What's his name? Kevin what? Kevin James. All right. So I was just told that the guy's name is Kevin something. But the point I'm getting is to what you said. He played in an action movie as a security guard in the mall, and he's chubby. He's a fat dude, and so like you said, you don't want to see this guy being a superhero. He's fat, so they made a comedy out of it. They made a joke. Kevin James, okay, all right. So they made a joke out of it. So when Arnold was in shape and he played, Commando and whatever movies, or you see dudes who are physically fit, you want to see that guy as Conan or whoever else.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So I get that. I get that, right? So you don't want to see Bill and Melinda Gates in a love story. You want to see two attractive people, and then
If they did that movie with them, they'd pick some more attractive people to sell the movie.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Because Melinda, she's kind of rough on the eyes, man. And I brought this up too. I wanted to switch it to look at how these guys pick their mates. You get what I'm saying? They keep the super physical traits. They keep that for fun time. That doesn't really make it to their homes like that. These guys, but then there are some. You look at Robert F. Smith. He's married to like a Playboy model. You're familiar with Robert F. Smith, the real rich African American guy.
Right, he's the guy who paid off student debt for.
Yeah. Robert F. Smith, and
Right.
he's got like but more so with these like super billionaires, these guys with these mega massive amounts of money, they don't really have the trophy wives like that. Not in mass. When you start to look at all of them, most of them do not have trophy wives.
That's
And they
because,
may be using the more mature method of dating and settling down that you're talking about.
well, I wouldn't. I understand why you would call it a more mature method, but it's what I would call that men have a divine right to, is which is using logic. So who's compatible with me? Who's going to make my life better? What woman is going to be? Can she be an asset? Are we compatible when it comes to money management? Am I going to have to put her on the budget? Right? Is she going to withhold sex because she thinks that she's controlled by withholding sex? You know, and how do we want to date? I mean, educate and discipline our children. You know, all of those things are way more important. And one of the things that a lot of guys don't even consider, and they actually think it's an insult. Those guys, those like upper level in socioeconomic class, one of the things they look for in their choice of a mate is, what does her network look like? Can she open doors for me? Can she mix in with the kind of crowd that I want to be around? Does she
Yeah.
already have that kind of network? So if she can open doors, she's valuable because she'll go out and network, even if she's a soccer mom. And I've actually seen wives do that. Very, very powerful. The wife ends up being like a salesman for her husband's company, and you know, and their socioeconomic class rises because she is valuable. She's out meeting women who are married to other successful men, and the wife has to know what her husband does for a living, and she brings for, you know, hey honey, I invited this couple over for dinner, you know, I'm gonna,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing, and the husband closes a major deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. I understand. And women are good for that in general.
If you know how to choose, right? So if a woman has been properly educated, like, so most likely she would have seen her mother do it, and so she's
Mm-hmm.
naturally going to do it. It's almost like the mother doesn't have to give her explicit instructions. Uh, she's going to emulate her mother.
Yeah.
Same thing. So, and I would say when a woman knows she has a valuable network, she holds her network. Her network is more valuable than her body, and by that I mean a woman will have sex with a man before she shares her network with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is true.
She'll share her body, but not her network, because sharing her network with the wrong guy can burn bridges. And a woman who has a valuable network is not going to burn bridges. When she's with the right guy and knows that when she plugs him in, he's going to work that network, everyone wins.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's a different kind of woman than a woman who's just looking out, you know, bottle service and, are you going to take me shopping?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I wanted to I like to and it's not my youth, but it makes the it's like dual people that we both know. So I like to bring up celebrities sometimes. So don't think it's like a any pageantry or anything like that. It's not. It's just people that we both know or the listener knows. You take the like when Robert Kardashian picked Black China, right? That was a very lusty move. With or let's bring it more current with the PJ Washington guy and the
Oh,
Brittany Renner. Let's
yeah.
bring it more current to that. Did you get what I mean? You see where I'm going with it?
Yeah, that I have no sympathy for him.
Oh man, I mean, it's hard to have sympathy for him, but when you're chasing just a show like that, it comes with consequences. There's consequences of dealing, and there's consequences and repercussions of dealing with fatty broads.
Right. But see, here's in keeping with the theme of,
Yeah, hold on. So let me finish the sentence.
okay,
And
go ahead.
there's consequences and repercussions from dealing with a truly compatible woman.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so most people go into a relationship looking for love, which is backwards. you go into looking for compatibility. If you're compatible, like, look, man, if you and I hung out and had beers and talked, and I was like, damn, we think very much alike. I think you're a great guy because you think like me, right? I mean, that's kind of natural, right? And
Mhm.
I look out for you, right? I would be like, yeah, I introduce you to people because I know the way, I understand the way you think. You're not going to embarrass me, right? So it's going to be okay. It's the same thing when you meet a woman. Um, you're looking, if you find a woman and she's compatible, you're naturally going to have an affinity. It's going to be like, wow, I like you. It may not even be about intimacy yet, but you meet a woman and it's just, I like you, I like the way you think, and you're going to ask her questions, and you see that you all are compatible in a lot of areas. And if you have affinity for a woman, it naturally will turn into love. So people try to get the love first as opposed to getting the compatibility. So love is really irrelevant. Love has nothing to do with making a relationship work. It has nothing to do with building a relationship. And I don't care what the relationship, business, family. If you go after love first, you're backwards. You're dealing on feelings, and feelings are unstable and unreliable to create a foundation for a relationship. That's really where I'm at on this topic.
So should we go after what we're attracted to, and to what degree?
So look, man, I like attractive women.
The qualities that you're naming are they're not normally found on the most attractive women, not until they're older.
Well, it depends. So this is now. So sometimes, most of the time, is yes, but also depending on their socioeconomic class. So uh, there are there are lots of women who learn how to network, right? So I'm thinking of a client. Uh, his his grandfather started a company, and his grandfather had two children, a boy and a girl. And the boy was part of the business. He wasn't doing so well, but the girl married a guy who ended up taking over the company and doing a smash. He did a bang up job. He did a great job.
Mhm.
Then they had children. And so now their children are running the company and growing it more than it's ever been. But here's the point: the grandfather had a daughter who knew how to find the right man to take over daddy's company.
Mhm.
So so she couldn't just look for a guy who was just going to show her a good time and model this and take her shopping. She looked for a guy who could take over daddy's company and provide her with a lifestyle she was accustomed to from her father. He did. Now, most don't have a father that's running a significant company. But if you understand, if you have a mother who really looks out for and takes care of your father, you're going to learn right from there. So part of what I'm getting at, the unspoken message is be leery of women who grew up without their father in the house. Like, like,
when I when I got like my first real job, because I ran the streets for a whole bunch of years. When I got
okay,
my first real job, it was at a dealership called Nemeth Motors out in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, and the guy, Mr. Nemeth, he it was passed down to him for like two generations. This is like one of the oldest. It's closed now, but it was one of the like oldest dealerships in America. It's from like 1906.
oh wow, wow,
Yeah, and the guy's daughter married this guy Scott Pearlstein, and he became the owner of this big dealership that's been around since 1906. And the sale now. This is me. I'm coming up young. I'm about 18, 19 years old, coming into the workforce. It's my first job, and I used to hear the guys. Yeah, he got him some. He think he the shit because he got him some rich pussy and this, that, and the third. And I never put much thought into it, but talking to you right now at this moment, it's like, damn, to build yourself up for whatever endeavor you're going for, and then you meet a woman and she's able to put you in a qualified position of power like that, and you
Exactly, man.
qualify for it because he
That,
did make the company bigger and better. He didn't just fall into some rich pussy. He made the company bigger and better. So I'm thinking, while you're saying this, I'm thinking like, wow, was she molded and equipped to do this, or did she just stumble upon the right man? And being that they've had dealership since 1906, she probably comes from that socioeconomic class that you're talking about.
yep, yep.
And
And
she
so,
knew how to pick this man. So
exactly.
it wasn't only for the looks or his charm, but he had to have a full package for her to settle down. And basically she handed this. That's just amazing, man.
And so there are women in that situation.
Yeah, yeah.
The father has married, um, the father has started a significant business. You know, it's not late. I went out with one of her cousins, and
Bre-
I
breaking up,
was
Ted. I don't know if you're breaking up for the listeners, but you're breaking up for me.
all right.
You're back now.
Okay. So Sanaa Latham has a cousin that lives here in New York, and I went out with her in Little Italy in the city,
Uh-huh.
and we were sitting at the outside at a table. This was a few years ago, and we were sitting next to a married couple, and the married couple, the woman, her father had a significant company, and I asked her, so are you expecting your husband? And he was sitting right there. I said, is it the expectation he's going to eventually take over the company? And it was kind of like, yeah, he's working with my father. And the guy said, yeah, I work with her father. He's showing me a lot of different things. So ultimately, that's what the hope would be, that he takes over daddy's company. Um, Now, the woman might have seemed a little bit spoiled, except you better believe when she picked her husband, she didn't just pick some guy who was going to spoil her. She picked a guy who's going to run the company responsibly and be successful, and like you said, make it bigger than what it was. So
Yeah.
I've met these, they exist. These women exist. Well, see, for a guy, you really have to develop yourself.
All
So
right. So
just think of that woman you're talking about. She might have fun with some guys, but when it comes down to choosing that guy, making that final real decision for, saying I do, she's looking for a different kind of man. Yes, she can be good looking and charming, but you have to have some other qualities that say you can be successful running daddy's business.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. See, I never think in terms of that growing up in poverty in those situations. I never think that those kind of situations exist, so I might have to qualify for a situation like that one day. I don't think a lot of the women when they're raising their sons or daughters, they're even nurturing them to even be in those kind of positions one day in life.
And this is why you listen to me and we have these conversations so that we can alter your perspective, even if you never meet that woman. So if you do, you're prepared for her. If you don't meet her, you're prepared to run your life that way. And so
Yeah.
whatever woman you meet has to be on that kind of level to fit into your life. If a woman wants to be invited into your life, you can legitimately say, I've prepared and developed myself to be qualified for the woman who's got a father running a significant company, and I could step in.
That's an interesting perspective for me to just wake up to tomorrow. Like, am I even dressed to meet this girl? Am I learning what I need to know to even be qualified for that position? Whether I meet her or not, or whether it's just a figment to for me to approach things different in a better way.
That's the point, right? So even you, so that woman is not going to be looking for some guy. Oh, I just love him, right?
No.
Especially if daddy says that guy is not qualified to run my company. I don't want you with that guy.
It's another interesting thing when I think of the story of um what is the Beauty and the Beast, right?
Right.
When Belle, because Belle was like a fly broad. Belle was a fly broad, and they got one of the guys that the real muscle head guy, he wasn't fly enough for her. She didn't care how popular he was. She didn't care about none of that. And then when she met the beast and she seen that he was intellectual and into books and things like that, it took on a different perspective to her, because Belle wasn't like just a pretty girl. Belle was kind of fly. Like she
Right.
was the flyest girl in the town.
She's well-rounded, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, so you get where I'm going with it?
Right. Keep going.
So we're not in any situations of poverty. We take things on the face a lot. We don't dig past the layers. And when you first start growing up, you want to impress your friends, and you get what I'm saying?
It's
As
about
you move up the ladder, things get more intricate than that.
you start. Listen, you need to be having conversations about power,
Mm-hmm.
not to dominate others, but power in the sense of getting things done and getting things done through other people.
So you can search your endeavors.
Yeah, because just doing it all on your own, that's not enough power. But when you can produce results, these cats, these top CEOs, these entrepreneurs, they accomplish things through others. Henry Ford, I don't even think he finished high school.
I don't know why you break it up.
There's a story, and I'm not breaking up because you got some static coming in there. You got static. Is my voice clear?
Oh, yeah, you're breaking up. So I don't know what's wrong. Can you hear me clearly?
All right, I think it's your end.
I like
I
echo and
think
everything.
you're a lot of static. Hey, Imperator, am I clear? Someone in the chat, tell me. Yeah, you're breaking up, man. You got
I'm gonna go off and come back on.
okay, okay. So I'm talking about. So this is a really good conversation to have. So chasing love, chasing good feelings, chasing a woman who looks good, and your friends give you high fives and pats on the back, and you have the finest woman on the block. Except she doesn't. She in a few years she's going to be fat. Uh, uh, she doesn't develop her mind, so she makes a lot of poor decisions, and she puts herself around people who are not looking to elevate. Right? These are all important, except good. She's the best looking girl on the block, and all your buddies say it's great, and maybe she has good sex with you, and that's great, and that you have mind blowing sex, and now you're hooked. But if you're looking to elevate your life, to have power, like the kind of power that gets you from A to B in the quickest way possible, right? So you look at a, a Hyundai, at the car Hyundai. That car generally, unless you did a lot of work to it, right? You tricked it out. That car doesn't have power. You sit a stock Hyundai with a stock Bugatti, the Hyundai is like it's standing still because the Bugatti has power and the Hyundai doesn't. So if you think of what is the work that had to go into building and developing a Bugatti when you look at a Hyundai, and I'm not saying to compare yourself. What I'm asking you to look at is two stock cars, and the kind of effort that goes into building and developing power so it gets from point A to point B in the most powerful and eloquent. Like it's eloquent. Like you listen to the Bugatti's engine, it sounds almost like a tank. It's a powerful car. It's not stretching beyond its limits. And it can sustain high speeds without blowing the engine. A Hyundai would probably melt down. So you can get on the Autobahn in Germany and ride that Bugatti at 100 miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, and be cruising, like just cruising all day long. So you have to put gas in that sucker, and the Hyundai will melt. It will melt down. So, so what kind of woman supports power? This is not about love, and Scobie was, saying some great things about, this woman he used to be with. She was very attractive and he felt accomplished just for getting her. But when you talk about, who you want to be in the world and a kind of accomplishment as a man, that's a different kind of power. And listen, sex is important, and sex really is part of that power. I mean, men need to understand that. So having a woman who's sexually compatible, as opposed to a woman who's going to withhold sex uh, and feel like she has power over you, she's competing for power. So a cooperative woman understands the value of sex, and she'll accommodate you, as opposed to attempting to control you. So ultimately, these are, going beyond the surface, going beyond the looks, going beyond knowing how to say the right thing. Like people talk about having game, right? This is why I say game is for girls, power is for men. When men focus on power, then you need a woman who can fit into that. If she's trying to game you, she might play games and you may get excited about that initially, but in the long term, everyone loses. So believing that love has to do with feelings becomes a trap, and it becomes almost an inescapable trap, because you're looking for a woman who gives you a certain type of feeling, and that's going to be based on how she looks. Uh, she might be able to use inflections with her voice to make you feel good, feel special, but that's just not enough. Hey, Scobie, you back. Let's see how you sound on this.
Hey, what's up?
Oh yeah, you're clear now. Now you're good.
I'm listening in.
Yeah, I was just going back to love just isn't enough, because love depends on feelings, and that's not enough to build a relationship. Like you were saying, you could lay next to that woman all day, and eventually the two of you would starve. You'd have lots of sex. Oh, you can have sex 10, 15 times a day.
Hey, Ted. Hey, Ted. Listen, just uh, just walking around with her and everyone looking at her made me feel good.
Yeah, man.
It made me feel like I did something. But my maturity now, I wouldn't give a damn about any of that. I got real life bills going on and goals that are just bigger than having this woman. But the comfort, and I remember it too. It even makes me smile while I'm talking about it. Right now, at this very moment. I mean, I would have been happy having nothing, just the way I felt just being around her. It's almost puppy love to me now, because that wouldn't be enough now. But then I felt like that was everything, and I probably wouldn't feel matured past it if I didn't experience it.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get it. And
Yeah,
and if you had nothing for too long, she wouldn't have stuck around, so she would have left eventually. So
no, absolutely, absolutely. And
so
it almost becomes a well, it is like a teetering factor,
what do you mean?
because I would like I'm in a ghetto and I just got this pretty girl from the ghetto and I feel like I did something because I got the trophy girl.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? But that's not what life is about. And years later, breaking free from that, I'm traveling. I'm meeting different people. I'm doing things that just were ideas. But if I was still with that girl, I felt kind of satisfied.
That sounds like a trap, though, and a difficult trap to get out of, because the accomplishment is getting the girl, and along with getting the girl, you have such great feelings. Like,
Imagine,
how could you have gone wrong, right? This is the perfect life.
brother, from the music, the things they put in shows, they have the black men. They have us from the entertainment and the Hollywood perspective. They have us operating at a very low level. Even guys that are like successful in the drug trade and in the hood that come across thousands and thousands of dollars. There's no true plan to get out this like ghetto kingdom, and in the ghetto kingdom having like a, and you hear this name thrown around all the time, bad bitch, because that means something in the ghetto, but outside of it, nobody cares.
It has no
Nobody
power.
cares how your woman being real beautiful. I mean, we might care, but it's like a short moment in the conversation around the movers and shakers. They're not going to talk about how beautiful your woman is, but for so long. And instantly they don't care because there's bigger matters. But growing up in the ghetto, that's such a big deal, having like a beautiful woman or being fly and having a nice car. And I mean, I'm in Texas right now, Ted, and I mean, these guys don't even, I'm in the neighborhood and these guys really got real bank in it. They don't even have like, they have like Toyotas and stuff like that. They don't care. These guys, I'm sitting next to millionaires sometimes.
Okay, very
This is
cool.
not me bragging. This is me being excited to just talk to these people. It's not like in New York. In New York, the very very rich people, we don't even probably go to the same spots. Like we don't mingle amongst. Out here, I'm next to even the street urban guy. And this is a little off topic, but it's a difference between the city and out here. The urban guy who might sell weed owns some land too, and he has a barber shop over here. And it's not really like that in New York. It's kind of everybody's kind of one track minded. But anyway, back to it. The conversations are not about celebrity gossip and drama. And so when you brought up the socio economic
Right.
differences in the outcome of the girl, it's a major factor. But growing up, I was never taught that.
I understand, man. Technically, it really has nothing to do with race. I mean, because this happens across the board. So men are being taught through movies and music, um, to rely on feelings, and and I hear men say, "Oh, if you don't do this for a woman, you don't love her." Like, this relationship has nothing to do with love. Our affinity comes, but if you're gonna have a great relationship with a woman, you really need to understand what's valuable and what's going to take the relationship on the long haul. Interesting, you mentioned guys who are millionaires and drive Toyotas. There's a guy named Thomas Stanley. He wrote a book, The Millionaire Next Door, and he was talking about these guys who are couples that are millionaires and how they just, like you said, drive Toyotas. He wrote another book, I think it's The Millionaire Mind, and he talks specifically how he did these studies to find why is it that affluent couples have a very low divorce rate. And most people might think it's the money. No, is that they actually found that they were compatible with their values. Like, it's almost like back in when they do those arranged marriages. People don't understand, a lot of these arranged marriages that are orchestrated well, the families have to be compatible, meaning they have to have compatible family
Down
values.
to the family, not just the mate, the two mates that are
Well,
eloping,
well,
down to the family.
no, but see, the point is the two mates come from two different families, and if those two different families don't share the same values, the marriage won't work. So
Mm-hmm.
families have to find out if they have compatible values to actually be able to determine if the couple is going to be compatible. You follow
So
me
now,
on that?
yeah, now getting married. I mean, amongst probably the lower class, because you're probably talking upper now. But they
Well,
make marriage some kind of independent merging just between two parties, and not the families anymore. Hollywood has watered that out. That it's about the merging of two families into a powerhouse.
Right, right. So, 200 years ago, you would have married your daughter to some guy whose family, your family owns 50 acres, and the girl next door, their family owns 50 acres. Now they have 100 acres. You're building generational wealth now. And
Mm-hmm.
families are compatible. And maybe you didn't choose the girl next door because the families were not compatible, but the girl a mile down the road is compatible, and they have cattle. So now, you have land, they have cat, that's how you were building generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So people are not looking at Ford, or they're just looking at Hollywood and good feelings, and actually believe love has something to do with creating a great relationship. So we have Walk 434 joining. Hey, what's up, Chris? Thank you.
What's going on, Steve? How you doing, man?
All right, yourself. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm on lunch break at work. I just want to chime in for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with the. I think in modern society, what's missing now is it used to be when families merge like that. You're right. Not only did they have something to lose, but they had something that they wanted to gain, particularly from each other.
Exactly.
And now, what you have with these women, they become so dependent on the government that the government is their has become their pseudo family. So you they're broke. You can't build generational wealth with a woman who her family wealth relies on government assistance. If the government is her daddy, and all she has to offer you is potential food stamps and welfare, she's not a good mate. And the vast majority, I had a woman the other day tell me that she could retire on $15 an hour, and I couldn't stop laughing. She told me that she could make it on her own on $15 an hour while she had a husband who was paying all the bills. I told her, I said, no. I said, you divorce your husband and it's game over for you. You're gonna be selling pussy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's the problem with them. They know these women now. They have these mental jobs where they know that push come to shove, they can always rely on the government to make up for whatever shortcomings they have financially, and the government will just seek the money to recoup the money from men, like me, for example. The amount of taxes I pay is ridiculous. I pay more in taxes than a lot of people make,
Well,
and it's free to go fund single mothers.
so what you're pointing out are women who are incompatible for a successful, intelligent man, and so these are just women that you avoid. But the problem.
Yeah, and that's going to be about 99% of them.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on. The problem is, and it's what we were talking about earlier. A lot of men fall in love with like some of these women have fantastic bodies. They have nice faces, and men think by having that and feeling good with the woman, that's love, and that's the guy gets hooked. He's in a trap.
Well, I think there's several reasons for that. Number one, until a man hits about 40 years old, it is hard. It is extremely hard for us to corral or control those sexual desires. I mean, it just is. When we're young and the wind blows, we're at attention. And number two, the first love every man has is going to be his mother. That's the first woman you fall in love with. So if your mother is a ratchet whore, it's not unlikely for you to fall in love with a ratchet whore. You don't do it intentionally, but these are traits you've seen in your mother, so it's normalized to you. You don't view it as wrong. And we have society now where the vast majority of boys are raised by women. Women are raising the very problems in men that they're complaining about. They're creating them.
Right, right. Well, and what you're talking also about a socioeconomic class. That's the lower. That's the sort of the bottom of
You
that.
know, you can say that, but look at Steph Curry. Look at his parents. His dad was a millionaire basketball player, millionaire coach, and look what happened to his parents. You know, they're divorcing. She's been cheating for the last 20 years.
Right.
Um,
But that
you
that
got
doesn't mean his father didn't marry a woman from the bottom of the barrel. She just got over from looks. That's what I'm getting at. So look at Will Smith. He married a bottom of the barrel woman, and look at what he's doing.
right. I was just about to get to him. He married a bottom barrel woman, and
Right.
she couldn't stop. You know, she basically told him when Tupac was alive, she preferred thug dick over him, and he still married her.
Right. So this is the point. So, if you're a guy who's intelligent and has ambition, you don't marry bottom of the barrel women just because they look good.
I agree with you. I agree. Matter of fact, I'm going to say if you're a man, uh, this is probably going to contradict everything you say. But I'm beginning to think marriage is only for stupid men now. If you're a dumb man with nothing to lose, yeah, marriage is for you. As a matter of fact, women only want you. And intelligent men with a whole bunch to lose, to have a lot going for themselves, they're threatened by us. They don't want you because they know that in order for them to be in a relationship with you, they have to bring something to the table. They can't just simply exist in your lives. But these dumb men with low incomes, they're so happy just to get some pussy or just to be in the presence of a woman. The women know that they can play him, they can take them on, use them up, manipulate him, and when they're done, toss them in the trash like a used condom and just go on to the next one.
Can I ad lib you, brother?
Go ahead.
PJ Washington. Robert
Bingo.
Kardashian. Robert Kardashian.
Bingo. When they're done, they just want the dumb. They just want dummies. They want dummies. Now, Rob Kardashian, he didn't really
Future.
do any wealth. He just happened to be born into a rich family.
I'm just ad libbing. Future. The guys that are easy, where they come around and they get to eat. They're able to come in blatantly and get the desired results they came for without jumping through hoops.
Right. And with all
They
those
can
money,
show up.
those men, they part with their money so easily. PJ Washington, trust me, 20 years from now, because number one, he wasn't even a premier NBA player. I don't understand why he was so stupid to throw his money away. It's not like he's a LeBron. He's not dunking from the free throw line. He's not dunking over 2 or 3 people. He'll be lucky to get a third contract.
Well, he's still a bottom of the barrel guy who just got there. This is why most athletes go broke after they retire.
Most athletes go broke because they're dumb.
Brother,
why are we pretending that they weren't idiots in high school?
brother,
They're idiots in college. They take communication classes in college because that's what all the stupid people take. And then when they go on and become athletes, they become idiots as athletes, and they spend all their money. It goes towards child support.
That's why that woman made a video say, "Date an athlete. They're stupid."
yes, she did. Yes, she
Yeah.
did. Yes, she did. And he still went and shot her club up.
Yep.
So
Yeah. That's the fucked up thing about it, right? She made the video before he did it, and his dumbass still did it.
That was a viral video, by the way. It wasn't some hidden gem. It wasn't something that was dug up.
Right. She wasn't hiding the video on her phone and she sent to her homegirl, and then her homegirl exposed her. So no, she put the video online and it went viral.
Yes, this was no secret. It was one of her most viral moments. It's her internet staple.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I'm telling you, marriage. If you're an intelligent man, if you have a wealth of knowledge or a wealth of income, these women. Well, I'm not gonna say wealth of income because they'll take you if you got money. But what they want is an idiot. If you are an intelligent man, they do not want you. So they're gonna get an idiot, a dumb man who may have some resources, but ultimately they're threatened by your average man with say a decent income and everything, because they have to do something for you. They go to TikTok is probably one of the most disgusting apps out right now.
And it was originally for children, but they over sexualized it like they do everything.
You cannot go on TikTok without. I'm going to say probably out of 100 people live, 99 of them are women wearing something scantily, and they do what's called a fit check, where they stand back and they just show their ass. And some of these women will have their husbands sitting right beside them. So their husbands are watching them show their ass to hundreds of men over the internet.
Yeah, social media has become the surrogate husband, the
Yes.
surrogate man, the
Well,
three-way,
attention has become a new drug. Attention has replaced heroin.
the stimulant.
That's been the case for a while. Um, I, Somewhere in the late '80s and '90s, when women started, there was an overdose of attention. Social media just made it more pronounced.
Yeah, you could probably tell me more about that than I do, because I mean I was a kid back then, but I just don't remember. I just can't think of women ever being this attention starved. I mean, it's disgusting now.
And think about the children they're molding and raising, what they're gonna catapult into society, and the morality of these children, and what these children will value and feel is important coming out of these kind of households in mass. This is
We're
happening
already,
in mass.
but we're already seeing the effects of it. The children are doing anything they can to garner attention too. They just had the new challenge for these kids is to slap a teacher challenge. Can you imagine that? You're risking getting expelled from school to slapping your teacher and posting a video on the internet.
With the odds of going, for the dice roll and gamble of going viral.
Going viral. Yeah, going viral one time.
That's the reward.
So go ahead.
So when left to their own devices, women not only can they not pick a suitable man, but they also fuck their children up.
Socio, Ted.
Yeah, this is why I'll say bottom of the barrel. So those most women don't qualify for the men they would like to have, and some of those men they would like to have might have sex with them because the woman looks that good, but she doesn't qualify for any more than a couple of nights at his place. But he gives her access to nothing else except what's between his legs, and she's happy to take it with the hope that she gets more out of it. But the guys who end up with that 2 or even 5% of the men, those women know they need to have the capacity to open doors and be able to socialize with the kinds of people in their network. Most women don't have that. They don't have what it takes to do that. So that most women are just milking guys for what they could get. So they go after the athletes because that's low hanging fruit. Those are the guys who have money, like in the top 5, top 10, but they're not smart enough to know how to hold on to it. So the women trap them. But for the owners of the basketball team, those women have no access to those guys.
Preach.
Yeah, I agree.
Preach.
I just don't think there's any. I think we've gotten so bad as a society. I honestly don't think there's any way to right this ship. I don't think so. I think, matter of fact, I think we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg yet.
China,
I think it's horrible, and it's going to get worse.
China will do it. China will come in and write it.
I don't
come in and take over and say, all of you ugly women, off with your heads. You're no longer needed unless we want to keep you as a washing floor in someone's house. And all the men who didn't know how to deal with your women, well, same thing. We're going to put you in the cotton fields, or we don't need you. China will write it.
If I thought China was going to do it, I would spend my last dollar importing as many Chinese men as I could right now.
It ain't a Chinese man thing. It's a Chinese stronghold on a global level.
Right.
Not individual men.
I just don't think the government is going to allow China to get that much of a foothold here in this country.
I think they already have it.
They're already doing.
Covert.
If United
They
States,
don't know. China doesn't have enough power in this country to manipulate any laws yet.
listen, they just started that. What are you talking about? They're hate crimes against Chinese people.
But they don't
No,
manipulate laws.
I'm talking about regarding women. I'm talking about regarding women.
No, listen. China
In just 3 years, Hitler was arranging marriages. Like
listen.
within 3 years, Hitler was arranging marriages in Germany.
China showed you that they can have laws written in their best interest in this country. They just did that. And if you look at Texas, Texas is showing you that they can put their foot on the necks of women and say no abortions after 6 weeks. As much as women are protesting, they can't stop them. What
It's
China,
already been repealed. They're already repealing that law in Texas.
and you think they're going to get it repealed?
Well, so far it's been a hold put on it. So yeah,
That's a political football.
Well, China just showed you that they can have laws passed in this country in their best interest. So that's a power move. And politicians did not do that. China did. They went through the appropriate chain of action. And see, we only see what the media has allowed us to see, that China, there are hate crimes. But we don't know what kind of benefits and what it was. I'm willing to bet it was a package. It was a bundle. And it came with more than just hate crimes. They had some other benefits that we don't even hear about.
Well, I'll say this. I agree with you to a certain extent, but until I see more come from that, because remember, blacks and these trannies, the LGBTQ motherfuckers, they also have hate crime laws against for them in their favor too. But it's nothing more than that. I mean, personally, I would love to see somebody come right the ship. I just don't think it's possible.
See, in the U.S., we look too short term. China has 100-year plans, and their 100-year plan is coming to an end around 2054, and they are creating their next 100-year plan. So they've already put their foot on the brakes of anything that demeans men in their country, and they're going to teach boys to be masculine.
But China's also facing a problem with their birth rates. So they haven't figured out how to solve that problem yet. They have whole villages, whole regions where there's nothing but old people. They're dying, but the young people aren't reproducing because the men are over here and the women over here. The women have started to embrace feminism, and the boys are acting. Aren't acting very masculine themselves.
They're colonizing globally, though, brother. They're all over the place, mating with different races.
But they're not reproducing. They're reproducing
in these African countries, these city states that they're developing. They are.
Well,
they're developing those countries, but they're not having babies. Is what I'm saying. They're not replacing the birth rates are not at replacement levels.
Because they made a mistake. What they did, India and China aborted most daughters because they wanted sons. So China has like a surplus of 30 million men. And so in these small towns where the boy would have married the girl next door, well, the girls heard that in big cities, there's a shortage of women. So the girl who would have normally married the guy in her town is attractive enough to go into the city and find a guy who has money to marry her. So there's a drain of females. So even the guys in the cities are importing women from Vietnam. Plus what Scobey is saying, that they are. See, the Europeans play the game of chess. If you can get the king, you win a game. China plays this game called Go, which means you get the most real estate on the board. That's how you win. And that is the game China is playing. They may be having birth problems, but it's really the deficit is because they aborted too many females and they have too many men who cannot find a suitable mate.
Right, but speaking from a strategic military point, if you can garner all the the real estate you want. If you don't have the people to defend it, you're gonna just lose it again.
We're going into a very we're transitioning into a very very digital world, very robotic world anyway.
We are, but guess what? Guns still exist.
Yeah,
So
but
do drones. So do drones.
exactly. And if the United States wanted to have a war against China, they would have to borrow money. Guess who they would have to borrow it from?
China.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the joke. That the United States could declare war on China, but they'd have to borrow money first. And China, can we have some money so we can fight you?
We're not the powerhouse of the world anymore.
No, I
China
know that.
is. China is.
No. Particularly now with this new administration. I mean, we're so far in debt. I don't think. Yeah, I think it's going to take 12 years of conservative president, some we'll never have, to dig ourselves back out. It's amazing the financial strides that Trump made, and they've all been reversed in less than 2 years.
So China, all they've had a one-child policy for years. All they have to do is lift that and say start having children now, and their population is big enough. And for as far as a military, they have too many men. That's their problem. They have too many men, so they can put a bunch of men in the military.
No, their military is still pretty small compared to
They got a
ours.
Chinatown in every state in the United States. There's Chinatowns in Brazil. Like they're everywhere, man. They've got little tiny colonies everywhere. They're heavy, man.
They are, and they're financing the world, including the United States. Like all those mortgage-backed securities that was being sold in the early 2000s. China bought a lot of those. Like China's bailed us out, man. We sell a bunch of bonds to China. That's where we borrow money. If they cut their supply and dropped all their land, they own a lot of land in the United States. And they make 100-year plans. They don't go in like I'm just coming in the next decade to get you or the next. These are well thought out. And
you ever been to Lower Manhattan?
Of course I have. And how about Queens? How about
it used to be called Flushing. It's Fushing now.
Exactly. You go up into Flushing.
Fushing.
New York is filled with Asians, man. And then you go to California, you're going to find the same thing. The largest Chinatown is in San Francisco. That is huge. They're already demanding that. And as we're demanding that men get into the feminine side in the U.S., and we're teaching, this is the problem. This is part of the reason I wanted to cover this topic, because we're telling men to think like girls, and the most important thing in a relationship is to find love. All you have to do is find love, and love conquers all. And that's what men are going into relationships, just like women who have had these fairy tales read to them for all their life. And now men are taking very much that same approach. And that's not good. That's not healthy. So men find themselves in these traps. And women can finesse and play. You can play a man. All you have to do is look good, say the right things, and you get this, what you guys talk about, PJ Washington.
Yeah, as a man, the worst thing you can do is tell a woman, I love you. Once you've done that, you've given up all your power.
Yep.
Not enough guys think about power in the first place, so they're not even looking to have someone who can enrich their power. They're looking for look.
I would rather a woman fear me than love me any day.
You're either looking for a woman to be an asset or a liability. And if you're finding women who are liabilities, I have no sympathy for you. You'll be like the athletes that she said in the video. But men who are looking for power will find women who can accentuate that. And part of it is she is opening doors, and she knows how to brainstorm with you so that you actually can have more power. When back in the '80s when Ivan Boesky and Michael Milken, those cats were doing insider trading and they were banned from the New York Stock Exchange. Someone wrote a book about their wives, and their wives were a motivating force to driving them to do some of that bad behavior. So I'm not advocating it. I'm just, their wives were motivating forces to them having more power, the kind of power they did.
They were heavily involved in I get what you're saying.
Right. So
Where I mean, when many women I've had in my life would just, they would be on the sidelines. They wouldn't even be interested in what's financing our lives. They would have very little to no interest. It'll be one of the things where she just stares at you and she can't really respond because she doesn't have the intellectual property to even get involved and engage
right.
with you and what you're into. They've always been like little trinkets for me.
Yeah.
That's just, and that was my immaturity and my lust factor back then, where it'd be like company coming home, and this is my sex company, and I'm happy with that. Boy, things have changed.
Well, listen, and some women, that's all they offer. If they can be okay and understand that that's your lane, and don't try to be something you're not. Don't ask for my credit card. Don't ask for introduction. Don't ask for anything. Understand that you prepared and qualified yourself to be sex company. That's it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a problem with with that. Because that woman understands. She knows her lane. What I have a problem with is these women who think that they don't do anything. They don't offer anything to society. As a matter of fact, they take more from society than they offer. And they're absolute idiots. But every time you let them talk, they're the most intelligent, strongest thing around. And we they actually think that men can't live without them now. They actually say that, and I have to keep correcting them. Say no, we can't reproduce without you, but we don't need you. But without us, animals would eat you. They would eat your face right now. A bear would come and chew your face off right now if it wasn't for men.
El Chapo, El Chapo would have come up and taken the United States if it wasn't for men.
Exactly. I tell them, I had to tell a woman the other day, I said, you sit here and you think, you're strong, you're blah, 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 all this and that. I said, the only thing stopping a man from raping and murdering you right now is the threat of what another man will do to him.
Exactly.
Not you. Not you. Nobody's scared of you. We laugh at you. As a matter of fact, you fighting back just makes the sex better.
I believe that they know that, and it's all a facade. It's like a egotistical toy that they throw around and pass around each other, and sway in our faces. But I think they know the deal. A woman. They're very good at playing these games. They
Well, see,
like to
that's the
play these
problem, though.
games.
That's the problem is while they're playing these games and while they're doing all this, not enough of them have been punched in the mouth when they
It's
start to
not
utter these words.
to a degree. It's like to a degree. It's like I can't believe you're even arguing with me about it. You get what I'm saying? It's like I can't believe it that
Well,
you
think of it like
actually believe
children.
what I'm saying. You believe me.
Right, right. Think of it like children. When a child says something stupid, yeah, you may listen to it the first time and then correct them. You may listen to it a second time, correct them. But after that third time, you know, it's time to beat some ass. To get that, you want to get that out their head before they hurt themselves. You want to correct the problem.
So, They're, they're to be ignored for the most part, especially the dynamic of urban women that are coming in droves with this whole feministic attitude and this lack of appreciation for men and what men have built and what men have done. They use these things as little talking points for entertainment. I don't really pay them any mind because I know what it really is outside in the streets and what it is in society, and everyone knows. Everybody knows that,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we
feminism is
do.
that's something they do when they're bored.
And
Yeah,
men have created an environment for them to get bored because women don't have to wash clothes in a river. They don't have to do all that hard work like they used to do 150 years ago. So we've made life so easy and convenient that they're bored and they want things that they actually are not even good at doing.
Yeah, like I said before, we made their life so easy that they so easy and so uncomplicated that they hate us for
That's funny.
it. Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is hilarious is that so many women say, "Oh, you're intimidated because I challenge you." So and this is this is how most women actually look. I say, "Look, hey, it's raining outside," and she say, "No, it's not. I'm challenging you." Well, no, it's actually raining out. And so, but I'm challenging you, and it's not raining. So that she wants to argue with you when it's actually raining outside. And this is what I see with a lot of women, that you bring up a topic, she knows nothing about it, yet she'll argue with you and say, "I'm challenging you." And it's like, no, you actually don't understand the topic, and you're just what you're saying is no different than saying it's not raining when it's not raining, and you believe you're challenging and being beneficial to me. It's like you were saying, just stay in your lane, be quiet. When I want sex from you, I'll call you. Otherwise, I don't need to hear from you, because telling me it's not raining when it's raining is not very intelligent.
Right. They just take these combative, pejorative stances, and then and make these idiotic proclamations. And then when you try to logically show them how they're wrong, they cover their eyes and put in earplugs and say nope. And
Um,
that's how they bait you
I
with their
like
eyes covered and their ears with earplugs in.
I like to say, what you think you will accomplish by arguing with her, you will actually accomplish it by ignoring her.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. So that's one of my lines I always drop, and it works like a charm because, like I said a few moments ago, it comes to a point where she can't believe that you're actually arguing with her. That her point's valid. Like, you're listening to me.
Right. You're absolutely right.
How dare, and she'll lose respect for you over
Yeah.
it a little bit. Like, you're really listening to me.
Right. It's raining out. No, I'm gonna argue with you that it's like, no, it's raining, and I'm not even gonna have a conversation with you about it. Go sit down and shut up.
Yeah, it's like like I said, they and it's how they want you to get to the point where you're bending the knee to them. Like I told this story all the time. There's a woman standing on the train tracks, and the train coming. You say, "Hey, you stupid bitch, get off the train tracks. There's a train coming," and they'll just turn around and start arguing with you. No,
And
there's not. And you need to respect me. I'm a queen, and blah blah. Next thing you know, bam, the train hits.
allow me to shift it a little bit. You'll have intelligent men, true masters, in their own right, and you'll have the dumbest whore on the strip pole just come and dwindle and ruin their lives. So they have a reason. They have reasons and moments where they feel superior, and they stick forks in men all the time.
Yeah, look at all those basketball wives.
So, I mean, basketball players they're not the smartest guys, but you have some of the smartest guys that look up to them and cheer for them, and that are a little obsessed with them, and you get what I'm saying?
Right.
And that it has
So
nothing to do with
they do have an area of arrogance.
Yeah.
And not all men are smart. You do have some that are a little wittier than the men, and then they can seduce them, and some men that we may find intelligent. She's just able. He comes home, and we may look at these guys like they're tough. They go home, and their wives are bullying them. They have areas of where they can be arrogant.
and see that, and that guy may be with a woman that he finds perfectly physically attractive, and he's with a woman that he thinks maybe he couldn't be with, so he bows down to that. And what's worse is the rest of the world is telling him he's lucky to be with her,
Yep.
and she'll ruin his life. And he's really a smart guy, uh, but he's got. And this is why I was making such a big point of it, that he gets that dopamine rush and it feels good. And if she knows how to play it, She just plays along with it. She accommodates him, but she's really not for him. She just says the right thing so that he marries her.
And the more beautiful she is, the easier that is to do.
Exactly.
So even if you're,
Here's the funny
go ahead,
thing.
brother.
And any man making over 100 grand is like what, in the top 12% of earners in society,
Right.
or top 10%, something like that. And the higher you go, the smaller the number, right? So you
Right.
got guys who are making like over 150 grand that are in like the top 5% of society. But these women that are a dime a dozen, that are, sevens and eights, will tell him that even though he's in the top 5% of earners in this country, they're lucky to be with him simply because they're pretty. When you can go to Walmart or the mall or anywhere and find, 100, pretty, attractive women without even trying.
Well, and it's why so many men
Something
go
pretty
into
good for
drugs.
them.
I mean, if you're not wearing trinkets and super materialistic, chances are she won't talk to you because she has a whole bunch of men that she's fooled and thinking they're successful in her DMs on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and all these other social media platforms. She's
Right. I think
satisfied with the illusion of being wanted in mass.
yeah, the point I'm trying to get is until men start understanding that they're worth more to society than these women are, that
Mm-hmm.
by being an earner within a top 5 to 10% of society, you bring more to the table than she does, and she's actually the one that's lucky to be with you.
Exactly.
Until we get men to see this point, nothing will change because these women are going to die alone, but he won't.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Right. Women are doing what men have allowed them to do.
Yeah.
This is the biggest problem.
Hey Ted, I gotta run, man. But yeah, it's been great talking. I talk with you, Snowboy. Snowboy.
Scobe, it was a pleasure, brother.
Go
Peace.
Bay, yeah, Go Bay. My bad.
Good to hear from
Yeah,
you.
take it easy.
Take care, man. Yeah, and that's why I'm having this conversation so that men can make better decisions. And because if you're making decisions that's based solely on some biochemical secretion, that is not love. You think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You think it is. And that's where you'll be thinking that I'm so lucky and accomplished to have this. I have the perfect looking woman, but she offers nothing else aside from her looks.
Oh,
It's
such a
like
bum
being
deal.
hypnotized. It's like being hypnotized.
It's a bum deal.
It
Such a
is,
bum deal.
right? So it becomes a trap. It's the Venetian fly trap.
Mm-hmm.
And some guys that I hate to say this, for some guys, they marry her, she milks him financially, and his way out is unfortunately suicide. Uh,
Mm.
that's an ugly thing to say. So
So,
I'd rather save lives and say, hey man, it's enjoy the dopamine rush, right? It's not too far removed from doing narcotics. The dopamine, it feels good, endorphins, you're gonna have oxytocin flow. And if she knows what she's doing, she's going to play, she's gonna maximize it. And she's going to play like she's so into you, even though she's not.
that's exactly what Brittany Renner did to PJ.
That's it.
Talking to him nicely. She has a video that she recently put up, and you can see her going through different roles as she talks. Mental illness on full display, and I'm not dissing her because of what she did to PJ. I don't see him as a good guy or her as a villain. He does what he does, and she did what she did. But you can see that she likes to role play within the video, and you can tell she's good at it. She changed her voice. She did a sexy voice, a hood rat voice, a mean voice, and she went to an intelligent voice, and she was making different faces. I'm like, this girl knows how to act, and they have to. And women are great actresses, and men don't know that she knows what she's done it to someone else before. She's practiced on, especially when they're high traffic women. They know what voice affliction to use. They know how to seduce you on a high level, almost to a point of sexual sorcery.
See, you have to then you have to step back and think about there's a whole demographic of men that would never fall for it. So look at the owners of the basketball teams. Why don't those women target them? Because they can't get to them, and even if they did, they're going to squander it.
Also, their environments wouldn't allow them. But we have us as black men, we have an environment. Oh man, that's a bad bitch. Oh damn, there's this pussy worship, and it's very it's a popular thing in the ghetto. Pussy worship. You
That
got rappers. You got rappers. They're going for strippers. They're
see,
not going for the doctor that they might not have been able to get. They're going for strippers. You get what I'm saying?
this has been a problem for several decades, though.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It. You may say it's worse now, but it's just been a huge problem. The situation has become what it is because of that right there.
You want to marry your sexual fantasy.
Or even not even to marry, willing to empty your pockets to have just to smell it. You didn't even. There are guys that are jumping through hoops and will never have sex with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are guys, I call them buzzards. They got friend zone and they're waiting for roadkill. So they're waiting for the woman to go through a disastrous breakup, and she's now like roadkill. And he's gonna say, "I've always been here for you," and that he gets his 15 minutes of fame. He gets a chance at her. Is what a lot of the guys are hoping. They just
It's
hope
another bum deal.
she gets hope that she gets run over by a bad relationship. She's roadkill, and he's gonna pick her up uh, and hope that she opens her legs for him. But
CPR.
he's willing to do everything for her, and there's the problem. And so she gets accustomed to guys who are willing to do everything. So she becomes entitled to it. If you won't do it, the next guy will.
Well, Ted, it's been real. It's always a pleasure.
Yep, yep. So I'm asking men to look from another perspective. It's perfectly fine to enjoy the feelings you have with the woman. That has nothing to do with love, like zero. Yeah, everyone has feelings. You can have feelings when you hit your hand with a hammer, and that doesn't feel good. You can have feelings when you have sex and you ejaculate. That feels great. Two separate ends of the spectrum, and then there are a whole bunch of things in between. And as a woman touches you and uses, like you said, the voice inflections, those things can feel good. They ultimately have nothing to do with love and zero to do with compatibility. If men can start to look at and ask questions, and I understand one of the things that women will do is say, well, you ask a lot of questions, you ask too many questions. Women will say, you're about to talk yourself out of some pussy by asking me all these questions. And now you're letting her lead you. And I think this is the biggest sin that men have engaged in is to literally allow themselves to be led by women and find it acceptable. And that is a dead end. And so as women lead more and more men, they expect you to do it. And as Chris was saying, if you're a decent guy making a good amount of money and you're smart enough and don't fall for that, women will avoid you. So that apparently there's a surplus of guys who will allow themselves to be led and get sort of addicted to a good feeling and believe that he's got something going on and he's lucky. This is what I really want to get across to guys. And like I said earlier, if in the Me Too movement, if the story of Snow White and Cinderella was told, they would both sue for sexual harassment. Like Snow White said, "You kissed me in my sleep. I didn't want it. That was aggressive." And Cinderella would say, "You touched my leg to put a shoe on." And Cinderella wouldn't want you anyway because instead of buying red bottoms, you gave her some used shoe that you found in a palace and put it on her. So she might be like, "You're cheap." And Snow White would be angry because you woke her up out of her sleep. So those fairy tales are not the same. They're not your grandmother's story anymore. So that's what I want guys to get out of this. A myth twist. Yeah, exactly. Scobe. Oh, I guess you left. Myth twist, that's the point, right? Women are saying they're problematic. They're already saying that those stories are a problem. That's why I say that both Snow White and Cinderella would sue for sexual harassment. Cinderella's saying, you touched me to put a shoe on my leg. I didn't give you permission for that. And Snow White would say, you kissed me. It was unwanted affection. So that's sexual harassment. So you couldn't even do that stuff anymore. I think that's hilarious. So I don't know how long you've been here, Myth Twist. We've been talking about why is love the worst thing a man why is love the worst thing for a man to seek in a relationship? And what people are calling love is just like a Hollywood movie, and it's just a dopamine rush because the woman looks great, or she says the right things, you have sex with her, you bond with her. None of that has anything to do with love. None of it. So guys are getting hooked and dropped into a trap that they don't know how to escape because they feel so good with the woman. And it's not love. It's just nature's way of assisting human beings in procreating. That's it. So you said you could see one of them doing a Me Too rewrite for those fairy tales. Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised if it's already been done. Wouldn't be surprised. So guys are getting hooked on a farce. Enjoy your good feelings, enjoy it. Just like if you accomplish something great in your career or even with a hobby, if you're working out and you get to a milestone, you reach a certain strength, in bench and curls, fitness, you can run a mile faster than you've run it. That's going to feel good. It's euphoric. You feel good because of the accomplishment. Enjoy it. You're allowed to enjoy things in life. So if you're with a woman, enjoy it. That has nothing to do with love. Like if you have a trainer in the gym and he trains you to get to a point that you've never been in strength, it doesn't mean you're in love with your trainer. Your trainer assisted you. So a woman assisted you in a good feeling and had sex. You had sex together. It's mutually beneficial. It's not her doing you a favor. And I think that's the other thing. Guys have to get to when a woman literally believes she's doing you a favor by having sex, you don't want that at all. You definitely don't want to get her pregnant. And if a woman believes you're lucky to be with her, this whole thing, women want to be the prize and cherished, like based on what? Having something between your legs? There are billions of those on the planet. But myth twist that men haven't always been chasing that love fantasy. See, this is a problem. You didn't hear guys talking like this before. Like this is recent, like 25, 30 years. If you listen to those old school guys, they might have said, "Yeah, I love my old lady, but I love her. She's been around and she does stuff for him." But guys were not chasing a love fantasy at all. So you didn't hear guys talking like this. I mean, when I hear guys saying, "Oh, if you won't do that for her, that's a sign you don't really love her." Guys didn't talk like this before. That's how women used to talk. It's almost like we're flipping. Women are doing a role reversal on men. And men are allowing it. And men got themselves into this because they were told to get in touch with their feminine side, and they bought into it. So you're watching men behave in a more they're behaving more feminine than they've ever done, ever. You know, Sparta, I hear all kind of stuff. This is Sparta. Uh, Asking, what do you do for a living? We're warriors, right? Sparta ruled for over 800 years. No one came in and fought Sparta and combated and beat them head to head. How Sparta was dismantled was from Athens. And what Athens did was Athens brought a more feminine culture to Sparta. And that's how Sparta was destroyed. That's how Athens beat Sparta. They weaned out the stoic nature of Spartans and got them into art and music and femininity. Forget being a soldier and a warrior. You want to feel good, which is this is where we have men now. Men are going into relationships because it feels good, not because the woman is compatible and she is good. See, that's what men used to do in the past. That men were more focused on what's good, what's in my best interest, as opposed to what feels good. And we were talking earlier about how some of these wealthy guys don't have the most attractive women. Those women were valuable in some way to the guy, not for looks. So this is the thing men need to really comprehend. Love has nothing to do with a relationship. Love is about feelings, and feelings don't create great relationships. Compatibility, compatible in how you manage money, compatible in sex, compatible in intellect, compatible in intelligence, compatible if you want to have children or don't want them, compatible in how you raise your children, how you discipline them, how you educate them, homeschool children, private school, public school. I mean, there are so many cases of divorce because the couple couldn't agree on how to educate the children. Compatibility is key. Sexual compatibility. I mean, is this woman just having sex because she's trying to hook you? And once she marries you, she's going to withhold it? Talk about those things. And if she's uncomfortable talking about sex, like explicitly talking about sex and sex drive and continuity of sex, like how consistent do you need sex? Lots of women will say out of their mouth, I want sex as much as possible. And if you're a guy with a large sex drive, you just grind her, and eventually she will show you that your sex drive is not compatible with hers. Sex is really important, but does not create relationship. Love is not an important building block for a great relationship. It comes out. It is definitely never a foundation. You never want feeling anything dealing with feelings. Never is a solid foundation for a relationship. Any kind, business relationship, family, none of that. Does a woman even care? You can know if someone cares about you, not if they do superficial things, like to really care about someone. So the point of this show is that men take a step back and make better decisions about finding a mate. And yeah, I mean, look, share this video because men need to rethink what they call a relationship. And going into a relationship for love and feelings, uh, you're going to get into a trap that you don't want to be in. And even in divorce, you won't be released. You'll be paying alimony, child support, uh, all kinds of things. So, well, that's a Myth twist, that is the problem. I'm hearing more and more men talk about love. You marry a woman for love. You feel good. It feels right. That's what's getting guys hooked. You're not having these other conversations because it feels so good. 38% of 38% of marriages, the sex is being withheld. And that's not counting people in their 80s. That's between ages of 25 and 55. So between 25 and 55, couples in relationships, sex is being withheld. 38%. That's almost 40%. That's close to half. That's a lot of couples not having sex. And that woman may have had sex like crazy, and then she's just not. You were sexually incompatible. You base things on feelings. And more men are basing their relationship on feelings. And it's just mind boggling when I hear men say to me, well, you've never really been madly in love. And honestly, neither has that guy. That guy has just had like the drug naturally occurring in you called dopamine and oxytocin that was secreting in such large amounts. He mistake biochemical secretions for love. I'll say it again. Nature was brilliant in designing human beings so that they would mate and create more human beings, which is they give you oxytocin and dopamine to feel good so you will mate and have sex and make other children. But lions have the same thing, so do gorillas and chimpanzees and frogs and snakes. Just other animals have the same thing. Cows, goats. And you don't see them talking about love. Yeah, that's a good one. Ms. Twist, right. The number could be higher. But on record, it's 38%. That's huge. But and that's 38% that sex is withheld. I don't think that counts the women who withhold it and only have it once a month. I know a woman who's a gynecologist. She was telling me about a woman who said she only has sex, I think it was her client. So this doctor tells me she has a client who's married, and this married woman only has sex with her husband once a month. And she said, well, why would you do that? She said, well, it's better if I make him wait and anticipate. I mean, you must suck at sex that you have to only do it once a month for it to be good. That it's this wild, crazy thing because it's been held back. So that wouldn't count as being completely withheld, but that is being withheld. Once a month, that's unhealthy. Exactly, PJ. Cows have the same enjoyment of sex. Horses, hell, you should see. Man, when it's mating season for the stud for that buck, that male horse that everyone wants that horse to mate with their mare. When it's when it's the first mating of the season, that male horse is dangerous because I know people who have had horses and they say, and I know one guy, the horse broke his arm because he was acting so wild because they hear when it's the first, he's got this pent up sex drive that he's gone through the winter. And now the first mating of the season, they have to bring him out with chains. In fact, the first horse he has sex with has to be an experienced mare because he could literally kill or permanently damage an inexperienced mare. So that first female horse has to be experienced because he's got pent up for months and he's going to go buck wild and destroy her ass. So horses get the same thing. And they're not thinking it's love. So why are guys thinking it? Hollywood has helped craft that message to make you believe this is love. It feels good, and the music is playing. Must be love. And you have all these songs and all the things you're supposed to do for the woman that makes you feel good. And as a man, you're lucky to be with her. Who tells the woman you're lucky to be with that guy? Which technically she is. If she's looking for the hunter, the guy who chased her to make her feel good, and she gives in, and he buys stuff, he pays for dinner, he pays for dates. And sex is mutual, yet the man is lucky to be with her. See, guys accept that. And the whole notion of, what is it? Why buy the cow when you can get it for free? I remember a man said that to me, and I said, well, she's getting me for free also. So if I think I have to buy a woman to have sex with her, I have to marry her to have sex with her, why is it she doesn't have to do anything to have sex with me? Because hell, I'm doing most of the work. She's getting more out of it than I am. So why doesn't a woman have to buy me to have sex? And I said that to a guy, and he said, well, I never thought about that. So he had to rethink. So it's an insult to tell me I should have to buy a woman to have sex with her. I should have to marry her. As though I have zero value in this whole sexual intercourse. Like I mean nothing in it. There's so many messages given to men that make them think they're less than and they should be lucky, that they sort of they lay their neck in the guillotine to get it cut off. Enjoy the good feelings, guys. It comes with the territory. Oxytocin, dopamine, you're going to have all kinds of endorphins and vasopressin. There are all kinds of things that will make you feel good. Doesn't mean it's love. Is she compatible with you? Is she an asset or a liability? Assets bring money to the table, liabilities take money off. Having a job is not necessarily an asset, especially in today's time when women say, I'm paying nothing, you should pay all the bills. And the woman says to the man, your money is my money and my money is my money. You don't touch my money. My money's over here, like an exit strategy. So if it fails, she walks. And there's so much men are allowing in the name of love. If you really love a woman, you would let it happen. If you really love a woman, you wouldn't have her sign a prenuptial. You wouldn't have a trust account. Several months ago, I did a show about trust. If you're going to consider proposing to a woman to marry you, you need to have a trust account. You need to speak to an attorney and an accountant so that you can understand how that works and how to protect your income in the case of a divorce. Even if you have a job, you need to be having those conversations, and you need a prenuptial agreement because, as Myth Twist said, marriage is a legal binding contract and it can only be dissolved by a court-appointed judge. That's how serious that contract is. So marriage itself, if you're marrying for love, marriage is a contract. Marriage itself is a prenuptial agreement. Marriage is a prenuptial agreement sanctioned by the government. So the government is making the rules in your agreement, your contract. And an addendum would be a prenuptial agreement where you say, these are the terms that I want for this marriage. And if you're basing it on love, I would say as a man, you're in trouble. You've lost logic. You've lost clarity of vision. And you're not clear about how this woman benefits you. In all likelihood, she probably doesn't benefit you at all. But it feels good, so you think that's enough. And if she tells you she's going to have children with you, well, children are a liability. It costs $250,000 to raise a child from birth until 18. And children don't just go away at 18. They need a lot more support and guidance and probably some financial support. So it'll be more than $250,000 and you get nothing in return. There's no return on investment, ROI. Children are a liability. And the majority of women are a liability and they have no idea how to be an asset. Yet you believe you are in love with this woman because it feels good to have sex with her. This is the thing, and I know I'm repeating the same thing over and over. You guys out here talking about love and how uh, I don't understand what it's like to be madly in love. Neither do you. You just had a dopamine rush. You were just high on dopamine and oxytocin, endorphins. It feels good. That is not love. You have not had love. Love has nothing to do with feelings. That's the hard thing for men to hear. Love is not about feelings. Hey, thanks, Jason. What's going on, man? This is the thing that men have to get. Listen, I'm not against marriages. Marriage happens with a woman who's compatible. You're not doing it for love. If you think love has to do with feelings, you are being swindled. I hate to say it so crudely like that. And I'm not going to go on about this. Love has more to do with, it's not feelings. Someone said a promise. It's a commitment. It's a declaration. It is something you declare. And when you say, I love you, it doesn't matter if I'm angry with you or I don't like you this day. It doesn't have anything to do with love. Somewhat like how you hear about a mother for their children. I mean, no one gets unconditional love, not even your children. I mean, if a mother has children that are that's stabbing her, she's not loving that child at that time. So there are conditions. But a lot of guys end up getting abused verbally, sometimes physically, financially. I mean, you get manipulated because the woman says, if you love me, you would give me your credit card. You wouldn't want sex all the time. Love, and so you'll be shamed out of your own biological desires. So look, if you can have biological desires to feel good and claim it's love, your biological desire for sex should not be denied either. This is really what I need men to understand. Enjoy the good feelings. Like, man, I'm not saying deny yourself that. It's healthy for you. It's great for your immune system. It's good for your minds. Intimacy is good. It helps clear your mind. These are things that you want to enjoy. They're part of life. Never confuse them for love, is all that I'm saying. So, guys, this is really the essence of my message. I'm going to end up repeating myself over and over. But this is what I needed you to understand. There are lots of men who marry and they don't marry for love. They marry because the woman's compatible and it actually works, even if the man loses everything. Yes, good for COVID protection. But there are men who marry women who are compatible, and if the guy starts a business, it crashes, it burns. He lost everything, sleeping out of the car. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Man, Poor Man, is one man that has had that happen. The guy Thomas Stanley, who wrote The Millionaire Next Door, and a bunch of other books, he talks about quite a few couples where that has happened. There are lots of cases where either sleeping out of the car or moving back into your parents' house and you're 40 years old, and your wife is pregnant, and you've lost it all. It happens when a woman is compatible, she's right there with you. If it's based on feelings, part of a woman's feelings with you are going to be because of material possessions and what she gains materially. Once that leaves, she doesn't get her dopamine rush unless she's suffering from some mental illness like hybristophilia, where she's getting a thrill out of a criminal or a guy who cheats or a rapist or a murderer. That's different. You don't want to be with that woman anyway. So this is the message, guys. If you haven't smashed the like button, do it now. Do it on your way out. Exit and smash that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, this is a great time. Subscribe, hit the bell. And this is something that needs to be shared. If you have sons or young or nephews or younger brothers, even older brothers, there are so many men that need to get clear about this. And I understand there are guys who will claim in the Bible it says you want to love. Look, you can have all the kind of love you want. If you're not compatible, it's not going to work, at least in a way that's fulfilling to you as a man, as a human being. This is men deny their needs. If you need a woman to be affectionate with you, but that still has nothing to do with love, but that may be part of the compatibility, that you're affectionate, she's affectionate. You're a great communicator, she is. Lots of women don't really talk. They don't listen. And if a woman doesn't, communication is very much about listening. So if she's not listening, you're not compatible. So this message needs to get to as many men, to every man. And I know it's one that a lot of people are not talking about. So I encourage you to share this video. I'm going to keep it on Instagram also, or YouTube. Share this video with every man that you can, young, old, middle-aged. It's one that needs to be discussed. Share it and have conversations with other men about this so you can be educated in a way that you maximize your life and you maximize what you get from a woman. And the women who don't, or who have no interest, who have not prepared themselves to be compatible with you, you either walk away or you let her play a role. She's in a lane. She's just there for sex and companionship. And never get it confused that it's more than that. And with that, gentlemen, I say thank you for your support and listening to me. I appreciate the chats and the comments, both in YouTube and on Instagram. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. And I'll be back Sunday with another treat for you, something provocative. Until then, take care, good night, and goodbye.